Love had never been part of Chisom's plan. For as long as she could remember, her dreams had been simple: to finish school, get a good job, and lift her family out of poverty. She wanted to live a life of choice, not one of compromise. But fate rarely bends to dreams. When her father's debts became unbearable and creditors threatened to disgrace the family, Chisom's parents forced her into a marriage she did not want, with a man she barely knew. His name was Ikenna, and to everyone's eyes, he was nothing more than a poor mechanic struggling to survive. Chisom wept on her wedding night, convinced her life had ended before it could begin. But life had other plans. Hidden beneath Ikenna's simple clothes and oil-stained hands was a truth far greater than she could ever imagine. So grab your popcorn, sit back and get ready for one of the most powerful stories you've ever heard, and if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button to support more inspiring stories like this one. Chisom sat by the window of her family's small house, staring at the dirt road that led into the village. Her mother's voice echoed from the other room, sharp and weary. Chisom, you are not a child anymore. Do you want to see this family collapse? Your father owes money he cannot repay. We are drowning. Ikenna is willing to take you as his wife. You should be grateful. Grateful. Chisom turned, her eyes filled with tears. Mama, you want me to marry a mechanic I barely know? A poor man. What kind of life is that? Her father sighed heavily, his face shadowed with shame. My daughter, sometimes we don't choose our fate. You will learn to live with him. And so the decision was sealed. The wedding was simple, without music or color. Chisom wore a borrowed white gown that didn't fit quite right, and Ikenna stood quietly at her side. His face was unreadable, but his eyes carried a certain gentleness. She avoided his gaze the entire time. When they were pronounced husband and wife, Chisom felt her world crumble. This wasn't the life she had dreamed of. She had wanted school, freedom, maybe even love, but not this. Not to be tied to a man who had nothing to offer her except more struggle. That night, in their small one-room house, she sat on the bed with her arms crossed, refusing to speak. Ikenna entered quietly, placed a covered plate of food on the table, and said softly, "You didn't eat at the wedding. Please, have something." She didn't answer. He didn't press her. He simply sat across the room, giving her space. For days, this became their pattern: Chisom locked away in silence, and Ikenna responding only with patience. He never shouted, never forced conversation. He simply tried, in small ways, to show care. When her slippers tore, he replaced them quietly. When she fell sick, he brought herbs and made soup. When she ignored him, he greeted her all the same. It was confusing. She had expected hardship, maybe even cruelty, but instead she found a man who treated her with kindness, even when she offered none in return. And though her heart was hard, something inside her began to shift, just a little. The weeks rolled by, and Chisom started to notice things about her husband that didn't make sense. Though he worked at a small mechanic shop, Ikenna never seemed to struggle the way she thought a poor man would. Their bills were paid on time. There was always food on the table. Once, she caught a glimpse of his wallet stuffed with crisp notes, far more than a struggling mechanic should earn. Then there were the visitors. Well-dressed men came at odd hours to speak with him in harsh tones. She once heard one of them say, "Sir, the board is waiting for your decision." She had been too shocked to move before they noticed her presence and fell silent. "Ikenna," she asked one evening as they washed dishes together, "why do those men come to see you?" He looked at her calmly, his lips curving in a faint smile. "Business. Nothing for you to worry about." His answer only deepened her suspicion. At the same time, her heart was beginning to soften toward him. He made her laugh once when he tried to cook yam and nearly burned it black. He walked her to the market and carried the heavy load without complaint. And at night, when she thought he was asleep, she sometimes caught him watching her, not with desire, but with admiration, as though he were grateful just to have her near. It confused her. She had been forced into this marriage, but slowly, unknowingly, she was beginning to care. One night, curiosity overcame her. She followed him after he left the workshop. Her heart raced as she trailed behind, keeping to the shadows. To her shock, he walked into the heart of the city, toward a towering glass office building that looked completely out of place for a mechanic. Chisom hid behind a pillar and watched. Ikenna walked inside like he belonged there. Men in suits rushed to greet him, bowing slightly as though he were someone of great importance. One even said, "Welcome, sir. The directors are waiting upstairs." Chisom's knees went weak. Who exactly had she married? The truth came the next day. Chisom had barely slept, her mind racing with questions. When Ikenna returned home, she was waiting for him, her arms crossed, her eyes blazing with hurt. "Enough of the secrets, Ikenna. Who are you really?" she demanded. For a long moment, he was silent. Then he exhaled and sat down, motioning for her to join him. She hesitated but finally sat across from him, her heart pounding. "I never meant to deceive you," he began softly. "But I needed to be sure of the woman I married. My father is Chief Okafor, one of the wealthiest businessmen in the state. I'm his only son. Everything he owns will one day be mine." Chisom's breath caught in her throat. "I live simply because I don't want to be surrounded by people who love me for money. I disguised myself as a mechanic to see who would stand by me, who would love me for me." His eyes softened. "When your family arranged this marriage, I thought it was another trap. But you surprised me." Tears welled in Chisom's eyes. Memories flashed before her, the patience, the small acts of care, the quiet strength he carried. "I hated you at first," she whispered. "I thought my life was ruined. But now," her voice broke. "Now I don't even know when my heart began to change." Ikenna reached across the table, taking her trembling hand. "I don't care if you loved me as the mechanic or the rich man. I only want you to choose me now, knowing the truth." Her tears spilled freely. "Ikenna, I choose you." He pulled her into his arms, holding her as though he would never let go. From that day on, their love was no longer bound by force or secrets. It was real, attested in hardship, revealed in truth, and blessed with abundance. They had been strangers once, forced into a marriage neither wanted. But in the end, they found not only wealth, but something far greater, each other. Years later, Chisom would look back at the girl she had been on her wedding day, angry, tearful, and broken, and barely recognize herself. She had entered that marriage a prisoner of circumstance, bound by her parents' choice. Yet it was in that same marriage that she discovered patience, kindness, and the kind of love that grew slowly but deeply. Ikenna had once hidden his wealth to test the heart around him, but Chisom had taught him something greater, that real love is not proven by riches, but by sacrifice, by staying through hardship before blessings arrive. Now, as they stood together hand in hand, with a family of their own and a future brighter than either had dreamed, Chisom understood the mystery of life. Sometimes the paths we resist most fiercely are the very ones that lead us exactly where we are meant to be. And though the world might always remember them as the couple who began as strangers, Chisom knew the truth. She had not just been married to a stranger, she had been married to the love of her life. And here comes the end of this powerful and amazing story. Kindly share your thoughts on the comment section, and if you're still joining us for the first time, kindly subscribe to our channel and don't forget to share this interesting story to your loved ones. Thank you so much, and do have a beautiful day ahead.